Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joe. I am one of the hosts of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy podcast, as well as Nude Clan and the Godzilla podcast, which you can find on iTunes. We've had a lot of questions from listeners who are trying to start their own podcasts and asking us how we mix our episodes. As well as how we record them, and I might get into how we record them another day, but I'm going to show you guys today exactly what we do with our episodes. Now, our show, unlike many other shows, we don't edit, so we just do a whole full-on stream, and we rarely go in and take something out, unless, of course, Caleb Schweiss says something racist or something, and then we gotta go back and
oh, fuck you,
take care of it.
We've never done that.
I'm kidding, of course. So I'm going to show you what we're doing here. This is a Patreon episode we pre-recorded, so usually we record our episodes somewhat live, but this one we did not. So the first thing we got to do here is we got to drag, we're using Adobe Audition, we got to drag our clips into the timeline in order. That's very important. And I usually give them kind of a bit of space in between, so that, you know, if we're going to add jingles or we're going to add like a remix or something, we can do that later on. Okay, so now that they're in our timeline, something that we do on our episodes that's important to note is that we usually do about 10 seconds of silence. We record about 10 seconds of silence before we start talking. So if you look at this clip here, I just double-clicked on this clip in order to get it into this window. If I play this, it's silent, and then...
We are here with Troy Kavanaugh.
See that? So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight this area. We can go to, I believe, we can go to Effects here, Noise Reduction and Capture Noise Print, which is Shift plus P, which is what I usually do. So we capture the noise print. It's basically saying, hey, this is the silent part. And then we deselect so that the whole clip is basically selected now. Then we go back to noise reduction, and then we do noise reduction process, and then we leave it alone on its preset here. We have it at noise reduction 100%, and we have it reduced by 37.8 dB, and we're just going to apply that, and we got to wait a few seconds in order to do this. Now, if you're in a clean enough environment when you record your shows, it doesn't honestly matter if you do noise reduction or not. Now, we've been doing noise reduction since the beginning because, well, we started out in a really crappy place that had a lot of noise, and so we had to take care of it this way. And sometimes we'll get like the hum of the fan, like you might be hearing a fan right now. I'm not going to really treat this video for sound, but you might be hearing a fan right now, and it kind of gets rid of that fan, all right? So we got noise reduction process on here, so hopefully the fan noise is brought down a little bit. And then I have a preset effects rack that I do here. But I'll just go into what exactly we do. The first thing we have is a Parametric Equalizer, and there is a wonderful preset in Adobe Audition that is Loudness Maximizer. What it basically does is it boosts the low end, so it boosts the bass, and then it boosts the high end, the treble, and it gives you that really good radio voice. So that's important to have there. So Loudness Maximizer, if you see these, it has the low end here is at 120 hertz plus 3 decibel, and then the high end is 6,000 hertz and then plus 6 decibel if you don't have that preset somehow. Our next thing we do is our dynamic processor, in which, let's see here, I think this was a preset, but maybe not. So we got negative 20.3 decibels to negative 10.0 decibels. I'm not sure what that means, guys, but you can like copy this from what you're seeing on the screen. So you can just drag this down here up on the grid a little bit, and that will give you quite a boost in your sound. So I'm gonna go back, and then I save that as an effects rack, so I can just go down here and I could go down to podcast is what we have it at, and then I just press apply, and then it applies it to the clip. I should have chosen a shorter clip. The shorter the clip is, the less loading time there is every time you have to do an effect. And so what you'll see now is that it boosted everything up, it compressed it a lot, and it's giving us a lot right now. But it's clipping up at the top, and we don't want clipping because clipping hurts our ears. So we're going to go to effects, we're going to go to amplitude and compression, and then we're going to press normalize. And I normalized at 100%. All right, so it's basically like the top, that's as loud as you can get without it clipping. So this is what we got here. It looks really nice, and we're going to go back into our multi-track to see all the other clips. And what we're going to do basically is we're going to do the same thing to the other two clips. Okay, one little note here, something I just did. You can take the noise reduction, like when we did noise reduction earlier and we selected a section of the clip and then we removed the noise from the clip, you can just apply that same noise reduction to the other clips just by going up to effects, amplitude and compression, and then not amplitude and compression, noise reduction process. It will take the same silence that it had from the other clip and apply it to these clips as well. All right, so something that could be quite useful is listening to the clips kind of before and after. So if we listen to it from before.
Yep. All right, tiebreaker time, boys. Let's start out with Troy.
And it honestly doesn't sound that bad, but then we listen to this.
Okay, he's the guest. I want him to win. What are the three main nations?
You can hear a lot more bass response. It's a lot louder, and I say the word loud, and I know audio guys out there know these terms by heart or whatever they actually mean. But it's important for a podcast to be loud. I don't think there's anything worse than when a podcast is quiet, because let's say you got your headphones on, you're working in some factory somewhere, or you're driving around in a Hyundai POS that breaks down all the time. You'll be hearing a lot of noise outside of the podcast. So when a podcast is quiet and they don't compress enough so that you can hear it in in a crappy headphone, you want to be able to hear the podcast no matter what. So it is important to mix very loud for podcasts. It's not the same for music. I know with music you gotta, you don't want to compress it too much or else it sounds like Death Magnetic. But with podcasts, it is quite important, and people will be appreciative of your volume level. Okay, so now we've treated all of our clips, and I have a couple things I need to add for this show in particular. We usually do our jingles, our opening episode jingles, at least for Ultima Final Fantasy, we do them in the mix itself. We have sound coming from our computer into the mixer, which is going into our digital recorder, and we're actually hearing it through there. However, with this episode, we did not do that, so this is a good opportunity to. I just went into logos. This is a good opportunity to show you what we do. So. Intro number 2 is what we have. So I drag that onto a separate line. That's important. And then we got to drag the clip. There's a certain section of the song that kind of goes off into a guitar open chord here. So, and then somewhere in the middle of that, I usually bring in the vocals. So.
We are here with Troy Kavanaugh, a Patreon donor who has finally gotten his episode.
See, there you go. So that's perfectly fine right there. Usually we have some sort of a remix or something in between these two things, but I don't want to get flagged for copyright right now, and you guys don't want to. So, you go onto YouTube. We go onto YouTube. We find a cool remix that we like. We try to keep that tab open so that when we do the episode description, we can give you guys a link to the YouTube page. And then we put the clip in between two other clips. Let's just play pretend here real quick. Let's find an old jingle or something. Intro version 1. Let's do it. So we can take this jingle right here, and something we can do. If you want to skip this part because it's about jingles or whatever, you can. See these little boxes here that give you the fade in and the fade out. Especially with the fade out, you're going to want to pull it kind of forward like this. But then you put a nice dip right before the vocals come in, and then right after the vocals leave. You get that nice dip in there, and that way it's kind of a gradual process. We do this with little remixes
let's
of
get
Final
into
Fantasy songs.
Let's get into Stump the Host, Troy.
Sure.
Final Fantasy.
And it gives us kind of a really cool, smooth thing. Okay, so one last thing, after you've added your mixes, your remixes, you should have your podcast stuff at the top, right? Your mix. And then at the bottom, this second track, we have all of our jingles, should you have any jingles, separate. Okay, so on the podcast one, we're going to go over to Mixer here. We do have a couple of presets that we'd like to add. First thing is the best tool ever that we weren't using for a good 80 episodes is this hard limiter tool that Adobe Audition has. Click on hard limiter and we limit it to -3 dB. What that means is that the loudest we can be on that track is 0 dB, which is, you don't want to go past that or else you're going to start clipping basically. So at 0 dB, that's the loudest you're going to be. And then the quietest, what the hard limiter tool does is it makes sure that the quietest thing on the mix is at -3 dB. So if you got one host or you got a person over Skype or something like that that has a quieter voice or a quieter microphone, then this will boost his end without boosting the other host as well. So this is an awesome tool. Like if you got a real big discrepancy, I have done limit it to -0.1 dB. I have done that, but especially if you have jingles within your main track, I wouldn't do that. But -3 dB seems to be just like where it's at. It's amazing. Our second thing here, we go to amplitude and compression once again, and then we do the multiband compressor, and we have a preset called podcast. But I do like the broadcast preset. It's basically the same thing. So we'll just do broadcast for now. Broadcast makes it sound like radio. I don't know how it does it, but it does it. So we got a gain at 0. We got a threshold of -10 dB. We got a margin of -0.1 dB. We got an attack of 4.0, and we got a release of 500. We are using the brick wall limiter, and then we have our bass. I guess is like bass, and then 2 mids, and then a high is what I'm assuming it is. We got this on the left-hand side. We got it at about -18. We got this one at about -16. We got this one at about -25, and this one at about -25 as well. And it gives you a really good sound. With the hard limiter, the multiband compressor, and then the work that we did doing this. First of all, the episodes are loud as crap, so I'm going to bring the volume down on the computer a little bit. Second off, it just sounds bassy and amazing, and it sounds like radio.
This PSP released Final Fantasy Crisis Core, and
That's very unusual. That's Cameron's, but
so you hear that? It just sounds, it sounds amazing. So ever since I figured out how to do all these presets and stuff, I've been doing the exact same thing just because it sounds great. As far as the jingles are concerned, most jingles you don't even have to mess with, but the fact that your main track, your track 1 with all your voices in it, is so friggin' loud right now, we do have to compress the second track in order to match it. Otherwise, you're going to have a really quiet like intro song, and then suddenly the voice is going to be there, really loud, and we want to avoid that. So we do a multiband compressor, and I just do broadcast for the songs. Like, it doesn't sound the greatest, especially for jingles, but it gets it at that volume level where there's not like a sudden, oh wow, that was loud and in my face, and I didn't like that. Anyway, so that's what we do.
We are here with Troy Kavanaugh.
So now it sounds freaking great. For you audio guys out there that know what you're doing, first off, I don't know why you're watching this video, because this is not for you. Second off, I know I'm doing things that maybe I shouldn't be doing. Certainly, if you have any tricks up your sleeve, put them in the comments below. Like if there's a way to make it sound even better. But ever since we started mixing this way, people have commented on how professional these shows sound, and so we pride ourselves on that. Partially that's the microphones, which we use an SM58, which is not the most expensive microphone in the world, but they're still pretty good. So it's partially the microphones, and that we're not recording through the computer or whatever. We're not doing it over Skype. We're doing it live together, which is a luxury that a lot of podcasts don't get to have, admittedly. But there are still ways that you can deal with this. Like, we have people over Skype all the time, and their microphones are of varying degrees. But if you treat the tracks like the way that I just showed you how to treat them, it should sound, it'll be 80% better. And so that's the way we like it. Now, one quick thing. Now, I haven't really edited this episode completely. I'm going to put some jingles in here, and then I'll put an ending song in here. If you want to listen to what that sounds like, go ahead and check out Ultima Final Fantasy, the ultimate Final Fantasy podcast. But real quick, this is how we export our stuff. We go to export, we go to multi-track mixdown, entire session. Now, see all this stuff? We got format settings and mixdown options. We do change our format settings. If you are a podcaster, then you know that the bigger your podcast files are, first off, they're slow to download, and secondly, they are more and more expensive. You need more storage, especially if you do weekly or daily episodes. You need more storage. So something that we do is we take it down to 96 kilobytes, which you can only do, by the way, if you're doing, and in mono. And I think you need to have these settings. So it's 100 hertz, source channels, source bit depth. Same thing, hertz mono. 32-bit, that's important. 64 kilobits, MP3. Mixdown option, entire session. We master it in mono. It makes it even smaller. And then embed, edit, original link data, which I don't even know what that means. But it doesn't matter, because the episodes sound great, regardless of the fact that I don't know what that is. And then you just export, and it takes like 15 minutes, or, it depends on your computer, I guess. And it also depends on the length of the episode. But anyways, guys, that is how we at Nude Clan and Ultima Final Fantasy and the Godzilla podcast, that's how we edit all of our episodes. In fact, some of these things, like Ultima Final Fantasy, we record this in chunks, but we have shows like the Godzilla podcast and Super Sexy Swingin' Fanfiction that we were just record in one chunk, and thus you only have to treat the one track. You don't have to add any jingles, and then you just straight up export it, and it still sounds great. Even if you're editing these things, I think like a great way to treat the mix is the way that we just treated it. So, all right, guys, everybody's been asking me to show them how we mix our episodes, so that's how we mix them. Once again, if you have any tips or tricks, put them in the comments below, and maybe someday I'll show you like the equipment that we use to actually record, and kind of our recording process there. But until then, see you guys.